Thank you for choosing to spend some time here today. We lead busy lives, and we don't often get to do the things for ourselves to help nourish and restore our sense of well-being. My name is Tove Kane, and in welcoming you to this guided meditation, I'm also suggesting a seemingly unusual idea, that fear's not the enemy. Imagine a life lifted up, flowing easily and naturally on a river of abundance. Abundance in all things: health, wealth, love, connection to God and the people that you love. What's keeping you from being in that fun, effortless flow that just feels so good? We might not be able to pinpoint it as the source of our unhappiness, but for a great many of us, fear is the thing that seems to hold us back. If it's fear that is holding us back, how can I say fear's not the enemy? Well, if we're made by the creator of the universe to be creators in our own universe, perhaps we could benefit from being reminded that the source of all creation is love. Love is all that there is. It's an illusion to think that love could have an enemy. Love's enemy is not hate. Love's enemy is not even fear. Love is unique. It has no enemies. A Course in Miracles describes this so eloquently. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. Have you ever noticed when people are watching a scary movie and you happen to see what's on screen? You're not part of the backstory, you don't know what the scenario is, but you can see sheer terror on their faces. The people that are watching are absolutely distressed, aren't they? Sometimes they're clutching at their clothes, some of them have their knees up, they keep hiding their faces, others have a hand across their mouths, perhaps someone is wafting a bowl of popcorn, unaware that the dog is collecting all the lost kernels. Most of the dread happens between the moments of actual interaction. It's the build-up that's so powerful. The lighting lends itself to more anxiety. The music exacerbates the tension. The movie maker is cumulatively escalating emotions that start out as thoughts in the mind of the viewer. And that's what we do in our lives. We make up scary movies about our lives. We are the ones who are terrifying ourselves. We do this based on unpleasant things that may or may not have happened in the past. Sometimes those things were massively traumatic. Sometimes we've told ourselves the story so frequently we've entrenched the trauma, but it's no longer rooted in fact. What we fail to acknowledge is that we got through it. Instead of enjoying that and embracing new opportunities, we sometimes ruminate on the bad stuff and repeat the stories and deny ourselves the chance of creating new ones. Our future decisions are based on past experiences. I'm not refuting that painful experiences are real. I'm simply suggesting that we have a tendency to mull over them, allowing them to taint our current experience, and this prevents us from being truly alive in our lives. When we distill our discontent, we notice that the root is fear. So if the unhappiness is fear-based, how can fear not be the enemy? In this guided meditation, which we can begin now if you are ready, let's try on this idea. Let's go with the flow that fear is not the enemy. Fear can actually be useful, even informative. I accept wholeheartedly what the Course in Miracles says. The opposite of love is fear. How wonderful to know that our natural inheritance is love. We've allowed fear to become a subconscious manifestation of doom. And when things drift around in the subconscious, they take shape in the outer world. Some of us aren't even aware of the fears that are destroying us, yet we can attest to the negative impact that these fears have on our lives. This meditation is created to help us understand fear rather than simply labeling it as the enemy and then wasting energy resisting it because we've decided to be at war. If your fears keep coming up, Visit this meditation often, as it will guide you to a more peaceful state and bring you into calm. Get comfortable now. Make your body comfortable. Make your mind comfortable. Allow your mind to leave behind other thoughts of the day and simply focus on this idea of fear not being the enemy. Slow down. Slow down. Slow your breathing and your heart rate will slow down too. You don't have to force anything. Not your breathing, not even your focus. When I say slow your breathing, just notice your breathing. When we take our awareness to our breathing, we learn stuff about how we were breathing. Perhaps you were holding your breath, or taking short, shallow, stress-filled breaths. When we panic, we breathe only to the top part of our lungs. Anxiety that escalates throughout a stressful day is causing a cycle of more stress. You're simply not getting enough air. If your thoughts are busy, trust that they will wind down in their own time as you continue to play with this meditation and play with the ideas in this meditation. Just slow your breathing. And once you've slowed your breathing, just let go of that conscious breath control and let your body automatically revert to handling that function of breathing. Now and then, when your thoughts interrupt, take that opportunity to bring mindfulness back to your breathing as you slow it down. In through your nose. Pause. Out through your nose. Pause. That's one breathing cycle. Notice your tongue. Let it rest gently in your mouth behind relaxed, closed lips. Soften the expression on your face. Close your eyes and allow your eyes to look downwards behind closed eyelids. We are closing out the physical in order to explore the metaphysical, emerging more relaxed with an enhanced immune system that will help us feel more alive in our lives. And just while you're preparing to enter this meditative state, I'd like to share with you some of the wisdom I enjoy in writer Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. Breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause. Notice you are moving deeper into relaxation. Your body feels heavier and you're letting go. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy the relaxation as I guide you through some ideas that will lead to peace and possibly even give insight into old wounds that can heal in this very meditation. This book I was describing by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And this time she's talking about creative living beyond fear. In Big Magic, Gilbert lists several fears that prevent us from living more creative lives. I'll share a few here. The book is a nugget of fun, insight, and wisdom. So I encourage you to spend time with it. Let it help heal you. In today's meditation, we're talking about fear not being the enemy. I think it's worthwhile for us to consider some of the background fears that are floating around your subconscious. As I mentioned earlier, these manifest into our daily lives. Gilbert describes how we're afraid we don't have talent. We're afraid we'll be rejected or criticized or ridiculed or misunderstood or, worst of all, ignored. We're afraid because something went well in our lives once, so obviously nothing can go well again. We're afraid because nothing has ever gone well, so why should we bother trying? She draws a distinction between the path of bravery and fearlessness. Bravery, she says, is doing something scary. Fearlessness means not even understanding what the word scary means. Returning to my suggestion, let's contemplate fear as a valuable reference point rather than merely the enemy. Notice how you begin to experience a shift in your thinking, your emotions, and your sense of self. In terms of our creativity, and creativity applies to each of us as children, parents, students, teachers, in art, in business, as entrepreneurs, we don't need fear. As far as creativity is concerned, we need courage. But let's not go ahead and ban fear. Fear can be useful. Fear's vigilance can be life-saving. You'll often see bumper stickers or memes floating around social media about living fearlessly. I like the intention behind those, but I prefer to absorb the wisdom of fear, to learn what it is saying, rather than allowing it to take over my life. And I certainly don't think we should be fearless. Fear that prevents us from being alive in our lives, that's the kind of fear that is destructive. Fear makes us feel the value of our lives. If there is something at risk, then there is something of value. Fears remind us that we care, that we're invested, that things matter. The duality of fear is that there is purpose where it is good and bad. The consistency of fear's grip is undeniable. What is fascinating, however, is that if we look down at the grip, we notice that we are holding on to fear as much as it is holding on to us. The fear that says, don't walk into dark alleys in the city at night time, is a relevant process. The fear that comes from our sixth sense and says not to eat one of the snacks at a cocktail party can save us from gastronomic grimness. That's where fear is a guide. Sweeping statements about fearlessness can lead to trouble. Blanketing fear as the enemy is equally problematic, since that denies some intrinsic worth. Allow your thoughts over the next few days to wander around this idea about fear not being the enemy, but rather a guidance system. Being alive in our lives is not being reckless with them, and fearlessness leads to recklessness. Being alive in our lives is not being stuck in fear that says we can't, we shouldn't, we mustn't. Perhaps over the next few days, you can spend some time just noticing what your fears may be. I'm talking about the deeper level fears, not merely the fear of escalators, snakes, or spiders. Phobias are different to fears, but all of these are the stories we tell ourselves. Could you tell yourself a different story? Could your story be more optimistic? Less about what went wrong in the past and more about what you'd like to do right now, and in the future. Sometimes we're not sure about what's holding us back. We don't know what the baseline fear is. We didn't even realize it was fear at the back of our unhappiness. We thought perhaps we were lazy or victims of circumstance. I don't believe in either of those excuses. I'm sure you don't either. It's really useful spending time on this and learning to identify just what are these fears that hold us back, block us, prevent us in whatever way they can from living dream lives. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of isolation, fear of rejection, fear that we're not enough and that there isn't enough. If fear is the enemy, that means we have to engage in warfare. I don't know about you, but have you ever known a war not to inflict casualties? Once we unpack the subconscious fears that are driving our behavior, we can be more forgiving towards ourselves and others. It's a calmer space to be in forgiveness rather than fear. Forgive yourself, not only for having fears, but for how you may have responded as a consequence of fear. People watching scary movies are forced to face the worst fears, and they get some kind of resolve for surviving that experience. In life, nothing is ever about being forced. You have choices. Choose to learn about your fears and then face them. Florence Scovel Shinn, writing in The Game of Life and How to Play It, describes the necessity of facing our fears. She says, if you run away, your problems will run after you. Be undisturbed by a situation, and it will fall away of its own weight. I love that. This has happened to many of us before, that we build up terrible dread about a situation, and it's seldom as diabolical as the story we conjure up in our minds. As an exercise in contemplation, let's examine a common fear and unpack it. Stay relaxed. Just allow your mind to go with the contemplation, but keep feeling calm about it, if that makes sense. Let's consider, for example, the fear of public speaking. The fear that sits heavy and hard at the back of this fear is the fear of rejection. If you acknowledge that you are a co-creator with Almighty God, who is pure love, then you are actually more aligned with love than fear. We recall that love is our natural inheritance. So your essence is love. The fear is an illusion. If you accept and love yourself because you are part of God, part of the creation, then you can't suffer rejection. You are accepted and loved by God. Who greater than the Almighty could possibly love you more? You can choose not to allow fear to be so scary anymore. Articulating your fears contributes significantly to eradicating their negative impact on your life. Now that we've named the fear, we can get practical about it. Here's another layer to consider. You've heard about your soul being the witness to your life. Your eternal spiritual self exists independently of the physical and even beyond the mental situations in life. See if you can access the feeling of the witness, the higher self, that part of you that is directly connected to love and to God. Notice from that perspective how things are playing out in your life. Let's revert to the scenario of the fear of public speaking. Substitute this scenario with any other fear if that's more applicable for you. This is just a thought, it's a game, something to explore that might help us to understand how to find the fears that keep us from living happy, fulfilled lives. Imagine any other fear that is more pertinent for you, or simply stay with this example that there is a fear of public speaking. This is frightening to many people, And the way to work with it is to understand that you have the fear and then to walk right up to it and do something to change it. The first significant step is to identify the fear. That takes it out of the realm of the unknown and makes it known because you have named it and can relate to it now that it is more clearly formed in your mind. Identify the fear. Step 2, recognize that you do not want to suffer under the grip of the fear. Remember, you might be gripping back, so it's time to let go. If you let go, you have the freedom to take up something new. For many people, as far as public speaking is concerned, they spend so much time dreading the awfulness of it that they don't do the practical, sensible thing, and that is actually get started. Putting things off only builds more anxiety. It's better to overcome procrastination and start actively addressing a situation. That way, you start to clear the noise of the problem shouting at you in your mind, and you start to discover solutions unfolding through the process of engagement. Take preparation classes. Give yourself time to prepare. Get the presentation ready in terms of its look and feel, and get yourself ready too. Practice. Get people to give you feedback. Have the courage to accept their criticism. The positive and the negative aspects of the crit are both valuable in improving your technique. Do voice exercises, vocal and physical warm-ups, and these help you present more confidently. How often haven't you been at a presentation and somebody fluffs and then they go la 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 la? You know that if you did that before, you would have greater control of your mouth and you wouldn't need to fluff. Study how successful speakers present and see if you can emulate their style, always imbuing everything you do with your own sense of authenticity. Speak only positively now in terms of public speaking. As Florence Scovel-Shinn goes on to say in The Game of Life and How to Play It, whatever man feels deeply or images clearly is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in minutest detail. To overcome your fear of public speaking, spend time visualizing your presentation going well. Build up a momentum of good feelings vibrating throughout your body and mind about how prepared you are and how you're significantly improving your presentation style. You've transformed a fear that held you back into a vehicle of self-expression simply because you faced the fear and took action. Fear is a story in our minds. Courage is the way we take action to give the story a better direction. All endings are beginnings. So just as we prepare to leave today's meditation, consider how Mother Teresa, who is now sainted, famously refused to attend protests on the war against hunger, preferring instead to rephrase peace rallies for abundant supply. This isn't a matter of semantics, it is the energy and power of words. Fear that keeps us stuck, that's the kind of fear that is detrimental in our lives. But it is in and of itself not the enemy. If you can find out what your fears are, and they change for different situations, you can develop some affirmations that will help you to focus on your preferred outcome. You could say things like, I am brave. I have courage. I am creative. I can do this. Let's start to make our way back up to the present moment as we begin to leave this meditation today. Notice the sounds in your room. Become familiar with the feel of your Take in a lovely deep breath that acknowledges your amazing process today and all the wonderful things you did for yourself in this meditation. You are amazing. You are beautiful. You're wonderful. Acknowledge these qualities and accept yourself as you enjoy saying them, trusting that you are encouraged to think positively and affirm yourself as Jesus Christ said, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." Say these affirmations mentally or articulate them with me. Allow yourself to rest in courage and don't allow fears to choke you or to mock you or to make you feel this process is foolish. What can be foolish about love? It is your natural inheritance. Inhale. Pause. And then exhale. Releasing this meditation out into the world. And say with me, I accept myself. I accept myself. I accept myself. I am amazing. I am amazing. I am amazing. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I am wonderful. I am wonderful. Bring your peaceful optimism back with you into the immediate moments after this meditation and for the next few hours and days ahead. We return to the room, coming back fully now, fully back into our minds and bodies. And here is a reminder not to expend your energy fighting, thinking that fear is the enemy. Rather, relax and allow your awareness to identify and articulate your fears. See them for the wisdoms they teach, but step up to them with courage and change things by taking action, focusing on the good, knowing you are a co-creator with Almighty God. As the Course in Miracles emphasizes, love is real, fear is an illusion. Be kind to yourself and those around you.